please tell the jury why you're here today?
Yes, about 6 years ago, Ms. Heard made some quite heinous and disturbing criminal acts against me. There were arguments and things of that nature, but never did I myself reach the point of striking Ms. Heard in any way, nor have I ever struck any woman in my life. I'd probably been in the industry 30 plus years, 35 years. Never had any problems, anything like that. And I had met many people over the years, many of the people, the opportunity to talk to those people and to give advice to these people. And my goal is the truth. My goal is the truth because it killed me that people that I had spoken with, that I had met with over the years, who maybe were in a not such a great position and they needed advice, and I gave them the best advice I could. All I could think of was that those people would think that I was a fraud and that I had lied to them. So I had to wait for my opportunity to address the charges, which were criminal charges, and they just weren't true. So I felt the responsibility of clearing the record as the only way that I could get to the point where I could speak has really taken this full 6 years. And it's been 6 years of trying times. It's very strange when one day you're Cinderella, so to speak, and then in 0.6 seconds you're Quasimodo. And I didn't deserve that, nor did my children, nor did the people who have believed in me for all these years. I didn't want any of those people to believe that I had done them wrong or lied to them or that I was a fraud. I pride myself on honesty. I pride myself on truth. Truth is the only thing I'm interested in. Lies will get you nowhere, but lies build upon lies and build upon lies. It's too much to cover. I'm obsessed with the truth, and so today is the first opportunity that I've been able to speak about this case in full for the first time.
Mr. Depp, how do you feel about the intimate details of your life being aired in this process?
As a father, raising kids, when they were very, very little, it was important to me, very important to me, to try to shield my children as much as possible from looking at their father or their mom, for that matter, as novelties. I didn't want my children to experience hordes of paparazzis. So I was always a very private person. So for me to come up here and stand before you, or sit before you, all, spill the truth, is quite exposing. And it's unfortunate that it's not only exposing for myself, it's exposing for my family, it's exposing for Miss Heard, it's exposing for... It never had to go in this direction. And so I can't say that I'm embarrassed because I know that I'm doing the right thing.
How did your experiences observing your parents as a child affect your approach to your relationship with Miss Heard?
In the beginning of my relationship with Miss Heard, from what I recall and what I remember, it was as if she was too good to be true. She was attentive, she was loving, she was smart, she was kind, she was funny, she was understanding, and we had many things in common, certain blues music and, well, music, literature, things of that nature. So for that year or year and a half, it was amazing. There were a couple of things that, I don't know, stuck in my head that I noticed that I thought might be a little bit of a dilemma at some point. For example, I worked quite a lot, and when I would come home from work, come in the house or the hotel, and she would sit me down on the couch and give me a glass of wine and take my boots off, set them to the side, and I'd never experienced anything like that in my life. I just never thought I just never experienced that before. And it became a regular thing that she did, this kind of routine. And I remember one night I came home from work, and I think she was on the phone or something, or busy. She was doing something, and so I sat down on the couch and I took my boots off. Suddenly, Miss Heard approached with this look on her face and she just said, "What did you just do? What did you do?" I said, "What do you mean?" "You took your boots off." I said, "Yeah, yes, I did. You were busy, you know." No, that's my job. That's what I do. You don't do that. I do that." "Okay, all right then." And then she said, "Let me get you a glass of wine." And she brought me the glass of wine. But I did take pause, of course, at the fact that she was visibly shaken or upset that I had broken her rules of routine. I thought that strange. And then once you notice something like that, then you start to notice other little tidbits and things that come out. And then within a year and a half, she had become this another person.
What did you like about Miss Heard when you first started your romantic relationship?
She seemed to be the perfect partner, in a sense, in my head and for me, because she, as I said, she seemed to be very knowledgeable about old obscure blues music that I listened to and really liked. She was literate. She was sweet, funny, nice, all those things, you know. From the beginning of our relationship at that time, for a good year and a half, she was wonderful, and then things just started to change, or things started to reveal themselves. That's, I think, is a better way to put it. Little things that you would you'd question in the back of your mind, you know, if she wanted to go to bed, I'd say, "Oh, well, I can't sleep, you know, right now." And rather than go and just lay in a bed and stare at the ceiling, I would say, I'll just watch. I'll be out here watching TV or hanging out, and that was just not acceptable. just not acceptable. It would stir up some rather unusual reactions from her. I didn't understand why I, as a 50-something-year-old man, was not allowed to go to sleep when I wanted to, as opposed to when she wanted to. It started out with little things like that.
So how did it come to be that your finger became injured?
There was at one point where I'd stayed in one of the, I'm sitting on a bathroom floor, door locked, she's banging away, screaming, blah, 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 and then suddenly she stopped, and I could hear her walk away. And I left the place, the room that I was hiding in, or not hiding, locked myself into, and I went downstairs in the house. Downstairs in the house, as soon as you walk in the house, you can go upstairs or downstairs. Downstairs there was a sort of a rec area, pool table and such, and there was a bar, and I was a mess. I was a wreck. I was shaking, and I just didn't understand why all this was happening. So I went behind the bar. I grabbed a bottle of vodka that was there and a shot glass and sat at the bar. She was nowhere around. And I poured myself 2 or 3 stiff shots of the vodka, first taste of alcohol I'd had in a long time. And then she came down to the bar and found me there. And of course started screaming, "Oh, you're drinking again, the monster," and all that. So she walked up to me and reached and grabbed the bottle of vodka, and then just kind of stood back and then hurled it at me, and it just went right past my head and smashed behind me. So I stood up and I walked behind the bar, and there was a larger bottle of vodka, the kind with the handle, I grabbed that and I went and I sat in my seat again. I opened the bottle and I poured myself a shot. Miss Heard was flinging insults left, right, and center, and she then grabbed that bottle and threw that at me. And the way that the bar was situated and where Miss Heard was. So if I could show you, so if this is the bar where the glass was and the bottles, if this was the bar and I'm sitting here like this, she would grab the bottle and she would go there. She went there. And so I was leaning like this in the chair, looking at her. First bottle went, then I got the other bottle shot. I'm in this position again, and my hand is on the edge of the bar, like that, leaning over, the fingers like that, and she threw the large bottle, and it made contact and shattered everywhere. I honestly didn't feel the pain at first at all. I felt no pain whatsoever. What I felt was, I felt heat. I felt heat, and I felt as if something were dripping down my hand, and then I looked down and realized that the tip of my finger had been severed, and I was looking directly at my bones sticking out. Blood was just pouring, and at that point, I think that I went into some sort of, I don't know what a nervous breakdown feels like, But that's probably the closest that I've ever been. Nothing made sense. And I knew in my mind and in my heart, this is not life. This is not life. No one should have to go through this.
Which finger was cut, Mr. Depp?
It's the middle, it's the funny looking one. It's the middle finger. Initial wound, all these bones up here were crushed, and it looked like Vesuvius, you know. And this part of my finger now is, so that because of not having use of the tip here, this is basically arthritis that kicks into the joint once that upper part of the finger is mangled.
So is that the right middle finger?
Right middle, yes.
And is that your dominant hand?
Yes, it is, yes.
Mr. Depp, I'd like to show you a picture. Mr.
Yes.
Depp, what is this a picture of?
That's me in the emergency room. And I see a detail that I'd forgotten, which is the Ms. Hurd had taken my cigarette from the ashtray and stomped it out in my face here.
Could you mark on the screen where you see that?
It's right above that green dot.
Do you know who took this picture?
I do not know.
Can we please publish this to the jury?
Do you want to enter into evidence?
Yes, please.
Any objection? No, Your Honor. All right.
And so, Mr. Depp, now that the jury can see the photograph, can you again explain what that green dot is identifying?
Just above the green dot is a wound from Ms. Hurd taking my cigarette, and this is after the finger had gone away, and she stubbed it out in my face and on my cheek.
For the record, this is an audio recording. It's quite lengthy, so we intend to play certain portions of it.
And I watched you lie, and then
I didn't punch you, by the way. I'm sorry that I didn't hit you across the face in a proper slap, but I was hitting you. It was not punching you. Babe, you're not punched.
Don't tell me what it feels like to be punched.
You know, you've been in a lot of fights. You've been around a long time. I know. Yeah.
No, when you have a close
You
face.
didn't get punched. You got hit. I'm sorry I hit you like this, but I did not punch you. I did not deck you. I was hitting you. I don't know what the motion of my actual hand was, but you're fine. I did not hurt you. I did not punch you. I was hitting you.
How are your toes?
What am I supposed to do? Do this? I'm not sitting here bitching about it, am I? You are. That's the difference between me and you. You're a baby.
Because you start.
You are such a baby. Grow the up,
Because you
Johnny.
start physical fights.
I did start a physical fight.
Yeah, you did. So I had
Because
to get out of there.
yes, you did. So you did the right thing, the big thing. You know what? You are admirable.
Mr. Depp, could you please explain to the jury what they just heard on those audio recordings?
What was just played on the audio recordings was very much the tone and the aggression and the attitude and the need for a fight from Ms. Hurd. That was, I don't know if that was some need for attention, but that was a sound that I had gotten very used to. The squabbling, the raising of the voice to essentially excommunicate anything that I had to say about the situation. I literally just got into bed. Post Heard was down in her area taking off her makeup and changing into sleep clothes, whatever, and she entered the bedroom while I was laying on my side of the bed reading. She was still rattling off all the wrongs I'd done to her in that particular day, and how unreliable I am, and I did not engage verbally, nothing. I sat there or laid there reading my book, and she didn't get a jump out of me or a jolt out of me. She got out of bed, she walked around the bed, she came to my side, and again, you know, you've got a person who is throwing multiple shots at your face, at your head, at your neck, at anything she could hit. So I got up out of bed and I grabbed her by the shoulders and I sat her down on the bed and I said, I'm leaving. Please don't get off the bed. Please don't follow me. Please don't try and stop me. I'm leaving. And she got up off the bed and she squared off at me in the doorway of our bedroom. And I said, what do you want to do? Hit me again? Would you like to hit me again? And I said, go ahead. Hit me. Bam. And then I just said, is that what you wanted? Would you like another? Bam! There's the second one. And I said, good, now you're done. Grabbed her by the shoulders, walked her to the bed, sat her down, and said, don't follow me. Leave me alone. I'm out. I'm gone. I went, I grabbed a few things, and I got out immediately, and I went to my other house. As Ms. Heard she was leaving the following day for Coachella. She and her friends were going to Coachella for the weekend.
Mr. Depp, after April 21st, 2016, when was the next time that you actually saw Ms. Heard in person?
I left Ms. Heard, I left Penthouse 3. I left at 4:30 in the morning, and that's when I left. And from that moment on, I did not see Ms. Heard until May 21st.
And why was that?
I had received some news that was as absurd and grotesque, cruel, and then I was shown a picture of what the problem was. I had gone to Mr. Bett and said, she's at Coachella. I think it's a good time to go downtown so that I can get some of my things, you know, and get them out of there, especially the things that were precious to me, you know, children things from friends, whatever, things that were important to me. And he said, I don't think now's a good time to go. And I thought, it's the perfect time. She's not going to be home for 2 days. And then he showed me a photograph on his telephone of...
Objection, Your Honor.
What was the photograph of, Mr. Depp?
It was a photograph of the bed, our bed. My side of the bed was human fecal matter. So I understood why it wasn't a good time to go down there. My initial response to that was, I laughed. It was so bizarre and so grotesque that I could only laugh. So I did not go down there that day.
Paul Bettany's a good friend that you've done drugs with, right?
That's a strange question. Paul Bettany is a good friend. Yes.
You've done drugs with him.
Yes, I have.
The two of you shared an enjoyment of controlled drugs or alcohol at that time, right?
The two of us were making a film together.
With respect, sir, that wasn't my question. My question was the two of you shared an enjoyment of controlled drugs and alcohol at that time. Yes or no?
At times.
Yes. And Miss Heard was quite adamant that you didn't drink anymore and that you should stop using recreational drugs, right?
Oh, yes.
And she didn't like it when you were high on drugs or drunk on alcohol, right?
She didn't like it when it was her perception that I was high on drugs. Her perception's quite different than the truth.
Mr. Depp, this is a text message exchange that you had with Paul Bettany on June 11th, 2013, correct?
Yes, correct.
You text Mr. Bettany, "Let's burn Amber," 3 exclamation points, right? You see that?
I do see that.
And at this time, June 11th, 2013, Amber is your girlfriend or perhaps even your fiance at this point, correct?
Girlfriend,
Yep.
for sure.
After that, you made another comment, and I'd like to apologize to the court and to the jury for some of the language that I'm going to have to use today, but unfortunately, you're going to see a lot of documents with language like this. After you said, "Let's drown her before we burn her," Mr. Depp, you said, "I will her burnt corpse afterwards to make sure she is dead." That's what you said that you would do after you burned her and after you drowned her. Did I read that right?
You certainly did, yes.
And you wrote that about the woman who would later become your wife.
Yes, I did.
One of your good friends that you've taken drugs with before is Marilyn Manson, right?
Yes, we've taken, we've drank together. We've had cocaine together maybe a couple of times.
Pills, right? With Marilyn Manson?
I once gave Marilyn Manson a pill so that he would stop talking so much. Sorry.
Question, the night before you were due to meet up, did you have a heated discussion on the telephone with Miss Heard about what was happening with James Franco? Answer, I do not recall, but it is highly likely. Did I read that right?
You did.
And you suspected that Amber was having an affair with James Franco, correct? That was the reason for your argument.
Yeah, yes.
Let's do this. So is it your testimony that right after you cut your finger off, that you, or right after, I won't give you anything to argue with me yet, right after you sustained an injury to your finger,
Sorry.
that you, right after you sustained an injury to your finger, is it your testimony that you did not ask for cocaine and ecstasy right after you told the doctor about your finger injury? Is that your testimony?
Regardless of what date you believe works within the world time zone, I don't believe that someone who has gone through opiate dependency, who has lost the ability to produce dopamine and serotonin in their own body, because that's what the opiate does. Your body no longer needs to make the dopamine or the serotonin. The dopamine and serotonin, as you know, I imagine, are things that keep us. It gives us our moods. It gives us.
I appreciate that, but my question wasn't that. My question was,
I'm just trying
right
to
after
school
you
you
told the
on-
doctor about your finger injury, you were asking for coke. It's entirely possible that you were asking for cocaine and ecstasy.
Objection
Yes
calls
or
for
no?
speculation.
Clearly need more Whitey stuff. Yes, it's a reference to cocaine, but that doesn't. There's nothing here that says that I ingested the drug.
Not saying there is, but you were asking for more cocaine and you were asking for more ecstasy, correct?
I wasn't asking for more ecstasy. I was asking for ecstasy because that was what I was requested by Miss Heard.
This is where you tell Amber in a recording that you mentioned the day I chopped my finger off. So let's listen to that.
Fight you're talking about? I don't know.
I'm
which
talking about
one.
Australia, the day that
Now
I
we're
shot
talking
my
about
finger.
Australia. Okay. Yes.
You hear that? When you said the day I chopped my finger off? Yeah, let's do it one more time. 'Cause
What
you
I'm
actually
saying?
don't.
Or is it the day that I got my finger chopped off?
No, you say the day that I chopped my finger off.
I'm not so sure. In fact, earlier you had quoted Jerry Judge from the airplane tape is calling me. Wait till he falls asleep. And I'm positive that those words never left his mouth because he would have, if I would have been making those noises in the bathroom, he would have ripped the hinges off.
Maybe they left his mouth when you were passed out, sir. Respectfully. Let's listen to this one more time.
I don't think
I'll
he was.
sustain.
Yeah,
Stop
move to
arguing.
strike.
What happened? What happened? Nothing happened this morning, you know that?
Were you in here?
No.
So that nothing happened to you this
Really?
See that?
No, didn't. You were smashing.
Bye. Do we have a date for this
That's your house
illegally
list.
recorded tape? Do we have a date or metadata or anything on that?
Why don't we, since you have some questions about it, why don't we watch it again?
Oh, I've
Play
seen
it
it.
again,
I
Ms.
mean,
Michelle. Okay, you know what, we don't have to do that.
That's good.
We don't have to do that. This is at your house in West Hollywood on Sweetser Avenue, correct?
that's correct, sir.
And that's you in the video, Mr. Depp, right? And you would agree that you were violent in that clip, correct?
Clearly, I was having a bad time. I don't know what it was with regard to completely at this point, since I don't know the date. But well, it's quite fitting with the rest of the photographs and tape recordings she made. So I thought what was most interesting is that she tried to hide it from me, and then that she laughed and smiled at the end. I thought that was the most interesting part myself. But so yes,
You didn't
I
react.
did assault a couple of cabins, but I did not touch Miss Heard.
And
As you can see, I think, no.
and you may have been drunk in that video, correct?
There's a possibility of that, yes, sir.
You poured yourself a mega pint of red wine, correct?
A mega pint. I poured myself a large glass of wine.
Right.
I thought it necessary.
And during this meeting that you had with her, at one point you tried to cut yourself with a knife, correct?
I don't recall that, no.
Okay.
This is really pretty.
Thanks. You want to cut me somewhere?
Do I want to cut you?
Yeah. You want an arm? You want a chest? What do you want? What do you want, the scar? What do you want? Cut me.
Just don't cut your skin. Please do not cut your skin. Please don't.
Cut me.
Why would I do that?
It's easy.
Don't. Please do not do that. Please do not do that. Please don't. Please don't cut yourself. You don't need to cut yourself.
I need to do what I want.
I know it hurts. I feel the same.
Cut me. I want your mark.
You have it.
No, you don't.
You have it.
They're gone.
Don't.
You tell me.
Please don't do that. Put the knife down. Just put the knife down. Don't do that. The knife is really dull, and it would be the worst thing in the world to use to cut me with. It would be too painful and dull and dirty to use.
Yeah, that's the tip of the
No, please do not. Don't. You're gonna hurt yourself. Don't. It's okay. Please don't cut yourself. Please don't. Please stop. Please stop. Please. Don't hurt yourself, please.
alter myself at all.
Mr. Depp, you see the text from Amber that says, I'm at a coffee meeting now. You see that?
I do, sir.
Right there. So she tells you at 12:41 p.m., I'm at a coffee meeting now, we'll be home soon. And then you respond, holy crap, no meetings, no movies. Why? Why do you deviate from our agreement? What species of meeting? It. Just tell me when you get home. Did I read that right?
You did, but a coffee meeting.
You didn't want her to take the meeting that she was taking that day, correct?
It seems as though we had an agreement. What seems like we had an agreement to do something together. I'm actually asking what species of meeting. So this is not necessarily angry text. It's just, why do you deviate from our agreement? It's not about her doing films. How do you think she got Aquaman, sir?
You tell her no meetings, no movies, because you didn't want her acting. You wanted to control her career, correct?
Objection compound.
Ms. Heard had come to me, and she was seemed to be seriously concerned about how she was being portrayed in Hollywood. She was concerned that because she had done films where there was kind of arbitrary nudity and things of that nature, she had voiced to me that she did not want to be, she didn't want to be looked upon that way in the industry. She wanted to be able to escape the chains of being objectified by the Hollywood system, which is a difficult thing for any woman, certainly, unfortunately. But she asked me, how can I avoid being stereotyped as the beautiful blonde who gets her breasts out or goes naked, and I gave her my advice on it, on how to avoid it. Her ambition was stronger than what she received from my advice.
Plenty of things you've done, plenty things you've fucking done. They were absolute fucking lies.
I didn't
and I
ever-
didn't fuck with you about it. So anyway, don't leave it. So I'll see you in a bit. Yeah?
Is that what matters?
Your lies?
Is this what matters to you, your party?
Your lies,
I never led you. And what we're talking about tonight is what? Who are you? Why? Why are you doing this?
I don't want to be with you. I don't. I really don't.
Then if you don't want to be with me in life,
Goodbye.
then you need to actually do it. You need to actually take off your ring and forget that 5 hours ago you said the opposite. Otherwise, you can't keep throwing that around. You can't keep saying to me that this is something you care about. What was it when you asked me to stay? In Australia, you said you promised me not to leave. You said you promised me not to leave. What did I do?
I thought you would change.
What did I do?
Not change.
What did I do?
Not change.
Did I stay or did I leave?
You changed.
Did I stay or did I leave?
You stayed and you didn't change and you were a fucking
I stayed.
pain in the ass and you were a cunt.
So I stayed. And I've been a cunt ever since, which is why you told me
Pretty
about
much.
every other day. Does that seem normal to you?
And you're
Does that
crazy,
seem
right?
normal to you? You told me tonight that you couldn't imagine your life without me. And now you're throwing your ring on the ground. Does that seem normal? Please, come here. I'm not insulting you. I have not been insulting you. I love you. Johnny, what do you need me to do? I love you.
Mr. Depp, what are you and Ms. Heard discussing in this recording?
It is another argument that is apparently not an argument to her. The screeching of her voice, demand that things go her way and only her way. I was done, and I think I stated clearly, I don't want to be with you. I don't want to be with you, and I wanted out. She said, take your ring off. She still wouldn't let me leave. I did, and she still wouldn't let me leave. She had given me a good chop in the ear, leaves you ringing, It was not long before that, and so I thought, maybe this will make you happy. Will it make you happy would you like to hit me in the ear again? Would that make you feel better? Will that make you stop this? Would have done anything to have stopped. outside of taking anything to some physical level. I disagreed with that wholeheartedly. That's not me. It's not who I've ever been. It's not who I'll ever be.
And describe, if you can, the events of the filming and your interactions with Mr. Depp during that time.
It was a bit surreal, filming in a place like Puerto Rico. It was beautiful. It takes place in the 50s, so everything really looked beautiful, cars and clothing, the music. It was a very colorful shoot in general. I couldn't have asked for, a better scenario. I was on film. I was on set, reading my books, and occasionally Johnny would talk to me, and then he started to be really kind to me, more open with me. When we'd have hot days filming, there'd be this big SUV pull up, and a security guard would kind of usher me into this car, and it would have the AC blasting, and I'd be sitting in the back of the SUV just thinking what a strange experience the whole thing was. And we didn't really have a whole lot of interaction on set until we did a scene that involved kissing. We had a kissing scene, and it didn't feel like a normal scene anymore. It felt more real. There are certain things that you do in the job to be professional, like when you have to do that sort of scene. You don't use your tongue if you can avoid it. There's certain things that you do to just maintain a certain line, and it just felt like those lines were blurred. He grabbed my face and pulled me into him and really kissed me. But we were filming a scene.
Did he use his tongue?
Yes.
Did you celebrate your birthday while you were in Puerto Rico?
I did. I celebrated maybe my 23rd birthday there.
And what, if anything, did Mr. Depp do for your birthday?
Well, we were already kind of talking about books and poetry and things like that. He gave me a few really beautiful poetry books, and he gave me a bicycle, like a vintage bicycle, because at the time I was riding around on a bike, and I had a lot of time off since I was a smaller role in the movie. Yeah, I think that was it.
Now, did there come a time that you ended up visiting him in his trailer?
Yes, I think we would hang out if, after or in between scenes or in between setups. We often were, talking about things, and would continue the conversation into the trailer, often with the director. Bruce Robinson was his name. And then at one point we talk about wine. It's another thing that Johnny and I shared in common, a love for wine, red wine. And we were talking about a kind of wine that I enjoyed, and I was, going on about how great this bargain wine was, and I didn't understand, how much more sophisticated Johnny's taste in wine was. So I was going on about the virtues of Malbec or something, and I brought him a bottle of this wine, and I set it down. And at some point, I'm going back to get back to set, and he kind of kicked his foot up in the air and basically kind of lifted the back of my bathrobe up. And
can I just stop you there? Why were you wearing a bathrobe?
Because I was doing a scene. It was a period film, so it took place in the 50s. And so I had all of this old undergarments that are for that time era on. And the scene involved me changing. So I had all the costume on. And he kind of picked up the back of my robe with his boot, giggled, laughed it off, kind of batted him away, and, moved on, went back to set.
Were you in a relationship at that time?
I was.
And was Mr. Depp in a relationship at that time?
That was my understanding, yeah. It was a friendship, a flirtatious thing. I felt chemistry. I felt this other thing that went beyond the pale of my job, for sure. Johnny clearly felt that way about me, had indicated to me that that's how he felt. At first, it was just to throw something, smash some things. He loves to smash up a place, an apartment, furniture. That's what it started with, glass. Threw glass at me, and I started to notice the pattern of escalation where he'd throw glass or turn over a table. Then he would hit the wall, and then he'd hit the wall really close to my head. You know, like when I'm standing there, you know, just hit the wall, screaming at me. Then he would disappear and get clean and sober, and he'd come back and tell me that he was done drinking, he was over it, he was done, cleaned himself up, he had done it before, and he'd do it again. And then he would go back to this, like, wonderful, like, almost like just unreal, like, but real, you know, but unbelievably nice, sensitive, kind, warm, generous, interesting, funny man that I loved. And he would make me feel so loved, like I would feel so distant from that thing that was so scary that I would not even recognize it too. And that was how, you know, our relationship kind of started to develop in that first year.
Do you remember the first time that he physically hit you?
Yes.
Please tell the jury about it.
It's seemingly so stupid, so insignificant. I will never forget it. It changed my life. I was sitting on the couch and we were talking. We were having a normal conversation, you know, just there was no fighting, no argument, nothing. And he was drinking, and I didn't realize at the time, but I think he was using cocaine because it was like there was a jar of cocaine out on the table. I realize that sounds weird, but it was like an actual vintage jar of it. But I didn't see him use it at the time, so I didn't really factor that in. I just, you know, he's drinking and we're talking, and there's music playing, and he's smoking cigarettes, and we're sitting next to each other on the couch. And I asked him about the tattoo he has on his arm. And to me, it just looked like black marks. I didn't know what it said. It just looked like muddled, faded tattoo that was hard to read. And I said, what does it say? And he said it says wino. I didn't see that. I thought he was joking because it didn't look like it said that at all. And I laughed. It was that simple. I just laughed because I thought he was joking. And slapped me across the face. And I laughed. I laughed because I didn't know what else to do. I thought, this must be a joke. He said, you think it's so funny? You think it's funny? You think you're a funny? And he slapped me again. It was clear it wasn't a joke anymore, but I don't know what else to say or do, so I just stared at him. I didn't say anything. I didn't react. I didn't move or freak out or defend myself or say, what are you doing? You're crazy. I just stared at him because I didn't know what else to do. And he slaps me one more time. All of a sudden, realizing that the worst thing has just happened to me that could possibly happen to you, I realized that I wish so much he had said he was joking, because it didn't hurt. It didn't physically hurt me. I was just sitting there on this carpet, looking at the dirty carpet, wondering how I wound up on this carpet and why I never noticed that the carpet was so filthy before. I just sat there thinking, how much time do I have till I figure out what I need to do? Because God, did he just hit me? No, I didn't want to leave him. I didn't want this to be the reality. I didn't want to have the man I was in love with. I know you don't come back from that. You know, I'm not dumb. I know you can't hit a woman. You can't hit a man. You can't hit anyone. And I wish I could sit here and say I stood up and I walked out of that house and I drew a line and I stood up for myself. Before I know it, he starts crying. And, you know, like I had never seen an adult man cry, and he's crying. Tears, just falling out of his eyes. He gets down on his knees and he grabs my hands and he's touching my hands and he's saying to me, I will never do that again. I'm so sorry, baby. I put the f***er away. I thought I killed it and it's done. I thought I put the monster away and I've done it before. It's done. I didn't say anything. I made a point to not say, oh, it's okay or anything like that. I just didn't say anything. I got up, I went to the car, I sat in my car, and I felt like I sat there forever. I didn't want to turn the key. I just leaned my head up against the window. I was heartbroken.
Let's tell the jury about Hicksville, May 2013. Can you tell the jury what transpired at Hicksville?
It's a fancy trailer park. He just started smashing things. He picked up something on the table and threw it right into the glass cabinet. He hit with his hand a wall sconce. He cleared the tabletop on the little fold down kitchen dining room area in this trailer. I mean, it's a trailer. There's only so much you can do. And he's screaming at me. He's just screaming at me. Eventually go back into the bedroom area. He comes into the bedroom area. We had what I can only describe as, it sounded like nonsense from him. It wasn't making sense. And I realized that he's just probably really high, because it wasn't making sense anymore. It wasn't like a direct accusation. He wasn't hearing me when I was saying I wasn't involved, wasn't cheating on him. I wasn't secretly trying to engage this woman in some sort of sexual affair. And then it became clear to me he was looking for something. He cleared things off the bed. I went into the bathroom, and as I come out, he asked me where it is and how long I've been hiding it. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he says, you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. Be honest with me. Where are you hiding it? And he kind of makes to look into the bathroom. And I gestured to the bathroom, which was to my right. I kind of gestured to him, and I said, what am I hiding and where am I going to hide it? And we're standing in this little hallway area outside of the bathroom, and he feels like patting me down or saying he's patting me down. I can't recall, but he ripped my dress, the strap top part of my dress. I had just dyed this thing myself pink, and it's just one of those things. I was like, that's I just finished that dress, and he's grabbing my breasts. He's touching my thighs. He rips my underwear off, and then he proceeds to do a cavity search. He said he was looking for his drugs, his cocaine, his coke. I was wondering how somebody who didn't do cocaine and was against it, that was in and of itself causing problems in our relationship. How could I hide? Why would I hide his drugs from, he was insinuating that I was doing it or something? It made no sense. And he was telling me we're gonna conduct a cavity search, shall we? Just shoved his face. Johnny was upset that he had to sell the boat, and he was off the wagon again, but he didn't want to tell his kids, so he was hiding it from them. He was putting it in coffee cups and drinking, and the behavior just kind of he was upset, he was emotional, and he just, that's how he dealt with it, just drink. But there's just no off button with Johnny. So he just kept drinking, and the behavior kept getting more obviously drunk. And Lily Rose, his daughter at the time, was young, just maybe 14. And she started to get panicky and started to ask me questions about his drinking.
Objection, hearsay.
Without saying what Lily Rose was saying, please continue on.
Sustain the objection.
Thank you.
So she was asking me questions about the drinking, and was very upset.
Sustain the objection.
Yeah, you can't say what Lily Rose said.
Oh,
But
yeah.
you can tell gestures,
Sorry.
you can tell, and you can say what you and Mr. Depp said, okay?
And Lily Rose started to cry and expressed to me that she
Objection,
was
hearsay.
upset.
Sustained.
You can't say what she said. You can tell expressions or observations, but you can't say what Lily Rose said.
and I'm holding her, kind of comforting her, and Johnny comes in, and within a few seconds I realize that he, kind of shifted his attention on me, and then he seemed very angry. He asked Lily Rose to leave. Lily Rose leaves, looks at me, leaves crying, and Johnny, I don't remember the words he used, but starts accusing me of kind of telling on him and calling him, a drunk in front of his kids. I hadn't done that. I was actually trying to protect Johnny. It didn't feel like my place at all to share that with his daughter or anyone at the time, other than adults who might help with it, but not his kids. So I was trying to tell him I was just trying to comfort her. I was trying to protect you. He basically was accusing me of doing this thing and of making them aware of his that he was drinking again. And he slams me up against the side wall of the bedroom of the we were in the bedroom this whole time, but up against the wall of the cabin, and slams me up by my neck and holds me there for a second and tells me that he could kill me.
Mr. Depp hasn't looked at you once this entire trial, has he?
Not that I've noticed, no.
You've looked at him, though, many times, haven't you?
Yes, I have.
You know exactly why Mr. Depp won't look back at you, don't you?
I do.
He promised you you would never see his eyes again. Isn't that true?
I don't recall if he said that.
One of the last times you ever saw Mr. Depp was when you met him in San Francisco in July of 2016, right?
That was the second to last time I saw him, yes.
And this was after you had publicly accused him of domestic violence.
I got my restraining order before that, yes. Mm-hmm.
And this is after you had obtained the domestic violence restraining order against him.
That's correct.
Let's please play Plaintiff's Exhibit 1229.
Oh no, a hug will save it all. All this, everything we just been
I
through.
just wanted to touch you.
Really? After all this shit you just said?
I just wanted to give
After
you
all
a
this
hug.
shit you fucking
Yes,
accused me of, you
yes,
want to touch me?
please stop me.
You won't don't take my fucking glasses off. You don't like fucking looking at not my fucking eyes? You will not see my eyes again.
That's you and Mr. Depp in that recording.
That is.
And this is from when you and Mr. Depp met in San Francisco in July of 2016, right?
Yes, that's what it sounds like. That was in the hotel. We met once after that as well.
This is after you publicly accused him of domestic abuse.
Yes.
Let's please play Plaintiff's Exhibit 357A, which is already in evidence, Your Honor.
See what the jury and judge think. Tell the world, Johnny. Tell them Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp, man, I'm a victim too of domestic violence. And
yes.
It's a fair fight. And see how many people believe or side with you.
I was saying it to the man who beat me up, yes.
And the man you beat up numerous times. Right, Ms. Heard?
I could never hurt Johnny.
You're here in this courtroom because Mr. Depp finally told the world that he is a victim of domestic violence.
I know that he is suing me and has sued other people or corporations that have said that as well.
You didn't think he would tell the world he was a victim of domestic violence, did you?
I found it hard to believe that he could or that he would do that, considering the relationship he and I had. I thought it would be crazy for him to do so.
And once he left you, you continued to abuse him publicly by calling him an abuser, didn't you?
He is an abuser, and you can look either of us up online and figure out who's being abused online.
Let's look at some of that. Mr. Depp wears rings on every finger, doesn't he, Miss Heard?
That's my experience, yes.
And they're not delicate rings, are they?
No, they are not.
And you've never known him not to wear these rings?
That's my experience, is he normally wore rings, yes.
So Mr. Depp was wearing these big, chunky rings on every finger. Every incident of abuse you've described to this jury, right?
I can't say for certain it was in every single incident.
But you've never known him not to wear rings, right?
In general, my experience with Johnny is that he wears rings almost all the time.
Ms. Heard, do you recall giving testimony in a deposition in this matter in January of this year?
I do.
Can we please play from your deposition, day 2?
You said he hit you and he was wearing rings, right, Ms. Heard? So he hit you with rings on every finger?
I don't know if I've ever known Johnny to not wear rings.
Yeah.
Ms. Heard, you testified to an incident in March of 2013 where Mr. Depp hit you in the face multiple times. Do you recall that?
That's correct.
And you testified, quote, you don't know how many times he hit you in the face.
That's correct.
Mr. Depp hit you in the face multiple times while he was wearing rings on this occasion, correct?
Which occasion in March are you referencing? You weren't
The
specific.
testimony that you gave on day 15 of this trial, March of 2013. You weren't specific as to the day.
There were several incidents.
The one where he hit you several times in the face.
Sorry, just so I understand better, there were several incidents in March. Which one are you asking me about?
The time that he hit you several times in the face wearing rings. He was wearing rings on that occasion?
I pretty much always knew him to wear rings.
Okay, let's please pull up Defendant's Exhibit 170. You testified that this is a picture you took after that incident, right, Ms. Heard?
Yes, that was one where he grabbed me.
And there's no injuries to your face in this picture, are there?
Not that this picture shows.
And there's no medical records reflecting that you sought treatment after this alleged incident either.
I did not seek medical treatment at this time.
And you have no visible injuries to your face, do you?
None that you can see.
Even though Mr. Depp whacked you in the face so hard that your nose bled?
He did.
While wearing chunky big rings, right?
That's correct.
You also testified that Mr. Depp, again, whacked you in the face after the Met Gala in May of 2014, right?
That is correct.
You testified that you thought he hit you so hard he broke your nose.
That's correct.
You said your nose was, quote, swollen, discolored, red.
That is correct. I took a picture of that.
You testified you took a picture of your face after this.
I did.
You didn't show it, did you?
That's not up to me.
You understand you were under an obligation to produce all photographs after any alleged incidents of violence, right, Ms. Heard?
I produced everything.
Is it your testimony, Ms. Heard, that you sought medical treatment after Mr. Depp allegedly broke your nose after the Met Gala?
Not after the Met Gala. I did not seek medical attention, no.
You also attended an event after the Met Gala in May of 2014, didn't you?
That is correct.
Next night after the Met Gala.
That is correct.
And there were pictures of you taken at this event.
Yes.
This is a picture of you, Ms. Heard,
Yes, it is.
at that event,
Yes, it is.
the night after the Met Gala,
Yes, it is.
the night after Mr. Depp allegedly broke your nose.
I'm not sure if it was broken, for the record.
He whacked you so hard in the face that you thought you had broken your nose.
Exactly.
This is a picture of you, Mr. Depp, and Don Rickles, right?
That is correct.
This is a picture of you and Mr. Depp at the event the night after Mr. Depp allegedly whacked you in the face so hard you thought he had broken your nose.
He did whack me in the face, and I did think it broke my nose.
And this is you the night after.
Yes, it is.
Your nose doesn't appear to be injured in any of these pictures, does it, Ms. Heard?
I'm wearing makeup.
Your nose doesn't appear to be injured in any of these pictures, does it, Ms. Heard?
That's why I'm wearing makeup.
And makeup covers up swelling, right?
Makeup will not cover up swelling. Ice will, though. Normally, the swelling after that kind of injury is not as bad as you might imagine, and for me, it wasn't that bad. I have a picture of it underneath the makeup. That's how I know how to reference it.
A picture you haven't produced or shown to
did.
this jury, right, Ms. Heard?
I produced everything.
But you haven't shown it to this jury.
I would very much like to. It's not my job.
You also told the jury about an incident on December 15, 2015, right?
Yes, that's correct.
You told this jury that after this incident, you had a broken nose.
It certainly felt like it.
Ms. Heard, do you recall giving testimony on day 16th in this trial? You were
Yes,
under
I do.
oath, right?
Yes.
I thought I probably had a concussion and certainly that I had a broken nose. There was blood everywhere, blood all over the pillows. My head was bleeding from the ripped out hair, chunks of hair on the floor, all over the place actually. Call giving that testimony, Ms. Heard?
Yes, exactly.
So you had a broken nose, right?
That's absolutely what I thought.
And you testified that you also had a busted lip from when Mr. Depp punched you.
That is correct.
You testified that the lip wound kept reopening when you moved your mouth.
That's correct.
Now, for this incident, you did take pictures.
That's correct.
And we will look at some of those in a minute, but I first want to talk to you about your appearance on the James Corden show. You appeared on the James Corden show the day after this alleged incident, right?
I did.
That was you on the James Corden show on December 16th, 2015, right, Miss Heard?
That was.
That's a photo of you opening your mouth on the right, right?
That's correct.
With a split lip.
Yes.
So you had a split lip when you
I
were
sure
moving
did.
your mouth that way
I sure did.
in those photographs.
Absolutely.
You settled your divorce from Mr. Depp in August of 2016, right?
That sounds right.
And in connection with that settlement, you received $7 million from Mr. Depp, true?
That's correct.
And then you released a statement in which you claimed you would be donating the entire $7 million to charity, right?
That's correct.
You stated you would be donating half of the $7 million to the ACLU,
That's correct.
and you would be donating the other half to Children's Hospital of Los Angeles.
That is correct.
If we could please pull up Plaintiff's Exhibit 1259. This is an article entitled Amber Heard Donates Johnny Depp Divorce Settlement to Charity.
That's what the title says, yes.
The statement you released, Ms. Heard?
That is correct.
Your Honor, I move to admit the statement and the article as redacted.
Objection, hearsay.
It's her statement.
This is not her statement.
She just testified, Your Honor, that it's her statement.
Okay, then I have no objection.
The statement reads, as described in the restraining order and divorce settlement, money played no role for me personally and never has, except to the extent that I could donate it to charity, and in doing so, hopefully help those less able to defend themselves. As reported in the media, the amount received in the divorce was $7 million, and $7 million is being donated. This is over and above any funds that I have given away in the past and will continue to give away in the future. There's nothing inaccurate in this statement.
Not that I recognize, no.
Mr. Depp donated $100,000 of the divorce settlement directly to the ACLU. Is that right?
Right at the beginning of the divorce settlement, he donated $100,000 to each charity on my behalf or towards my contribution.
And in response, you publicly demanded that Mr. Depp pay the divorce settlement directly to you instead of the charities, right?
That was always the agreement, actually, is for him to pay me directly. It was not his money as per the settlement agreement to give away and reap a tax benefit from. I said if he wants to do it and give to charity all of a sudden, then he should pay the correct amount and not try to get a big tax break for it. So effectively for his tax bracket, he should be paying double that amount to the charity directly. And if he wanted to pay the charity directly, he could. He could do that, was fine with me, but he would need to pay the adjusted amount.
Ultimately, the rest of the $7 million divorce settlement was paid directly to you, right?
Over time, yes.
And Mr. Depp didn't end up paying the rest of the $7 million divorce settlement directly to the charities you identified.
That is correct. He paid the installments to me.
You stopped that from happening, didn't you?
I don't understand what your question is. I'm sorry.
You stopped Mr. Depp from paying the charities that you had named directly.
That is incorrect.
You also publicly stated that the $7 million divorce settlement should be paid to the charities immediately in full, right?
If he wanted to pay it in the way that he was suggesting, yes.
And you said publicly that the payments to the charities should not be drawn out over many years, right?
I said that, I don't recall the exact words that I used, but basically that he shouldn't use this as a novel interest in getting a tax break, that if he wanted to do that and not pay me the settlement, that was fine, but he would have to pay the adjusted amount and not make it, a commitment he would not fulfill or try to avoid in some other way.
And that's because you wanted the entire world to think that you were donating every penny of the $7 million divorce settlement as soon as you received it from Mr. Depp. Isn't that right?
No, I was going to be receiving it in installments, and I would be paying in installments.
You released a statement after Mr. Depp donated $100,000 to the ACLU and $100,000 to CHLA. Correct, Ms. Heard?
I think so, yes.
Okay. And the language that follows is the statement you released in response to Mr. Depp's donations, right? That's the statement you released through your spokeswoman after Mr. Depp made the donations to the CHLA and the ACLU. Correct, Ms. Heard?
I do not recall exactly what my statement was. I don't disagree with anything in the statement, but I just simply don't recall what the statement was we released.
Is there anything inaccurate in that statement, Ms. Heard?
No.
Statement reads, Amber Heard appreciates Johnny Depp's novel interest in supporting two of her favorite charities, the ACLU, American Civil Liberties Union for Domestic Violence, and the Children's Hospital of Los Angeles. This is great and unexpected news. However, if Johnny wishes to change the settlement agreement, we must insist that he honor the full amount by donating $14 million to charity, which, after accounting for his tax deduction, is equal to his $7 million payment obligation to Amber. We would also insist that the full amount be paid immediately and not drawn out over many years. Anything less would be a transparent attempt by Johnny's counsel, Laura Wasser and Patty Glazer, to reduce their client's true payment by half under the guise of newfound concern for charities that he has never previously supported. Did I read that correctly?
Yes.
After this, you kept commenting about the donation of your divorce settlement, right?
I don't know what you mean by that.
Okay. You spoke about donating your divorce settlement on a Danish TV show, correct?
I believe I said I donated it to charity, but it was already printed or already commented on and stated in the press. I had already released that information in the press. I think I just confirmed it on that show.
$7 million in total was donated to, I split it between the ACLU and Children's Hospital of Los Angeles.
This interview was in October of 2018, right, Ms. Heard?
I don't recall when it was.
It was in 2018, right, Ms. Heard?
I don't remember when this was done.
This was after you had received the full $7 million of your divorce settlement from Mr. Depp, wasn't it?
Again, without knowing when it was recorded, I have no idea.
$7 million divorce settlement was paid to you in full by February of 2018, right?
That's correct.
So back to October of 2018, this was before Mr. Depp sued you for defamation, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
He didn't sue you until after the op-ed came out in December of 2018, right?
He sued me in 2019.
And the op-ed came out in December of 2018.
That is correct.
So in October of 2018, you had received your entire $7 million divorce settlement. You would agree with me.
That is correct.
And you hadn't yet been sued by Mr. Depp.
Correct.
So in this October 2018 interview, you said that you had, quote, donated, end quote, your entire divorce settlement to charity, right?
That's correct.
But you hadn't donated your entire $7 million settlement to charity at that point, had you?
That's incorrect.
Sitting here today, Ms. Heard, you still haven't donated the $7 million divorce settlement to charity. Isn't that right?
Incorrect. I pledged the entirety of the settlement, $7 million to charity, and I intend to fulfill those obligations.
Ms. Heard, that's not my question. Please,
what was
try
your
to
question?
answer my question. Sitting here today, you have not donated the $7 million, donated, not pledged, donated the $7 million divorce settlement to charity.
I use pledge and donation synonymous with one another.
But I don't. Ms. Heard, I don't use it synonymously.
That's how donations are paid.
Ms. Heard, respectfully, that's not my question. As of today, you have not paid $3.5 million of your own money to the ACLU. Yes or no?
I have not yet.
And as of today, you have not paid $3.5 million of your own money to the Children's Hospital of Los Angeles, correct?
I have not yet. Johnny sued me.
So as of today, you have not donated, paid $7 million of your divorce settlement to charity, right?
I have not been able to fulfill those obligations yet.
You wanted Mr. Depp's money.
Didn't get it, wasn't interested in it. I loved Johnny, that's why I was with him.
You wanted praise for donating the money, right?
That's incorrect.
You wanted good press.
In general, one does want good press, yes.
You wanted to seem altruistic publicly.
Wasn't my interest.
You wanted to remind everyone of your claims of domestic violence against Mr. Depp, right?
No, I wanted to move on with my life.
You wanted to make those claims seem believable.
They are believable. They were
You wanted
believable.
them to be seen, you wanted to be seen, as a noble victim of domestic violence,
I have never wanted to be seen as a victim, nor have I ever called myself one.
You testified under oath that, quote, the entirety of your divorce settlement was donated to charity, end quote, didn't you?
That's correct. I pledged the entirety.
No. Ms. Heard, my questions. You testified under oath, quote, the entirety of your divorce settlement was donated to charity, end quote.
That is correct. I pledged the entirety.
Under oath, that statement wasn't true, was it, Ms. Heard?
I'm sorry, I don't follow your question. Sorry.
You testified under oath, quote, the entirety of my divorce settlement was donated to charity, end quote. That statement wasn't true.
It is true. I pledged the entirety to charity.
That statement isn't true today.
It is true. I pledged the entirety.
But you didn't donate it.
Unfortunately,
you didn't donate it. It's a yes or no.
I haven't been able to to fulfill those.
So that's
obligations.
a no, right, Ms. Heard?
I made the pledge. I want to be very clear. I pledged the entirety. I haven't been able to fulfill those pledges because I've been sued.
You had all of the $7 million for 13 months before Mr. Depp sued you, and you chose not to pay it to the charities you pledged it to. Is that correct, Ms.
I
Heard?
disagree with your characterization of that.
Let's look at your sworn testimony from the UK. That's your signature, right?
That's correct.
Quote, I remained financially independent from him the whole time we were together, and the entire amount of my divorce settlement was donated to charity, end quote.
That is correct.
Did I read that correctly?
Yes, you did.
Most of the money that was donated to the ACLU and CHLA in your name came from someone else. Isn't that right?
I don't know what you mean by most of.
Well, at least $500,000 that was donated to the ACLU in your name wasn't paid by you, right?
I believe Elon made a donation in my honor on one of the years.
Yeah, and it didn't come out of your $7 million divorce settlement, right?
No, nor did it count towards my pledge.
You got him to pay part of what you promised to these two charities, didn't you?
Incorrect.
Because you wanted to keep at least some of the $7 million divorce settlement for yourself, right?
You're very wrong about that. One of the primary things I learned was that she had a very sophisticated way of minimizing any personal problems. Some of the primary characteristics were essentially externalization of blame, tending to have a lot of inner hostility that is attempted to be controlled, a tendency to be very self-righteous, but to also deny that self-righteousness and to judge others. These people might have that anger kind of explode out at times. They tend to be very passive-aggressive. They may be self-indulgent, very self-centered. They could use manipulation tactics to try to get their needs met, very needy of attention, acceptance, approval. So borderline personality disorder is a disorder of stability. It's instability, and it's instability in personal relationships. It's instability in their emotions. It's instability in their behavior. And it's instability in their sense of self and their identity. That instability is really driven by this underlying terror of abandonment. When somebody is afraid of being abandoned by their partner or by anybody else in their environment and they have this disorder, they'll make desperate attempts to prevent that from happening. And those desperate attempts could be physical aggression, it could be threatening, it could be harming themselves. But these are behaviors that are usually very extreme and very concerning to the people around them. And they'll explode, they'll react in this heightened manner that is just exhausting for their partners. Oftentimes their partners will try to make them happy at first and really allow themselves to be a punching bag, thinking that they can somehow solve this problem, that somehow they can make this better. And eventually it just overwhelms them. With borderline personality disorder, you're having these fluctuating moods constantly. They can react violently, they can react aggressively, they will often physically prevent their partner from trying to leave if their partner wants to get space from all of this intense emotion. And oftentimes they will be abusive to their partners in these situations. But mostly we call this administrative violence. So essentially this is saying that they'll make threats using the legal system. So they might say that they are going to file a restraining order or claim abuse, or they might do these things to essentially try to keep their partner from leaving. In the moment, again, they're not consciously thinking, I'm going to keep my partner from leaving right now. They're just thinking, I can't stand this. I hate my partner. They went from idealizing to suddenly devaluing because of the hurt, and they'll do anything to express that big emotion of anger. And so that person goes from being idealized, the perfect person, to dumpster.
In addition to borderline personality disorder, I understand that you diagnosed another personality disorder. What's that?
So histrionic personality disorder, and these are really two sides of the same coin. Whereas I was saying that borderline personality disorder, a lot of the key features that you're going to notice are instability. When it comes to histrionic, a lot of the key features are going to be drama and shallowness. Similarly, with borderline personality disorder, there's this underlying drive of avoiding abandonment. With histrionic personality disorder, that underlying drive is to always be the center of attention.
You went to Mr. Depp's home for dinner and drinks before you were hired as an expert in this case, correct?
I was interviewed at Mr. Depp's home by his legal team. Dinner was served.
And the dinner lasted approximately 3 to 4 hours, correct?
Yes.
And it included
The interview.
drinks, correct?
Yes, dinner and I believe drinks were served.
And don't you think that's a little odd that you're getting interviewed by Mr. Depp to decide whether you're going to testify adversely against Amber Heard?
I was interviewed by the legal team.
And he was serving dinner and drinks?
He was not serving dinner and drinks.
Well, it was at his house, at his behest, correct?
Yes, it was at his house.
Okay. And then you provided an expert designation in this case before ever seeing Amber or having an opportunity to review any documents or records. Isn't that correct?
I did not provide an expert designation. That's an attorney thing. My opinions are contained in my report.
And you have never qualified as an expert to speak to whether a person suffered from IPV, intimate partner violence, or was a victim or survivor of IPV. Is that correct?
That's outside the task of a psychologist to determine whether an event occurred. We assess behavior, we assess mental status, we don't detect crimes.
You were, in fact, so excited about being involved in this case that you told your husband, even though this was a highly confidential matter, that you were going to be conducting the examination of Ms. Heard, didn't you?
That is not accurate.
You not only told your husband, but you told Ms. Heard that you told your husband, correct?
Ms. Bredehoff, that is not accurate.
So the question that was asked was because you brought muffins, you said, from your husband, right? You gave those to Ms. Heard, correct?
May I clarify what occurred so that we can stop talking about the muffins? What happened was that I was getting ready that morning. I frequently bring muffins to the office. My husband did happen to know that there was going to be a celebrity client coming in because on the mornings that occurs, which often occurs, we have to actually clear the office and move the staff to the other office. So yes, on the one hand, he was aware of that. I was getting ready. I asked him to go to the bakery near our house and pick up the muffins for me because I was running late. He often has to do that because I often do run late. He brought the muffins back to the house. I brought them into the office. Ms. Heard and I enjoyed the muffins together. I think I made a comment to her along the lines like, my husband got these for us today, meaning he purchased the muffins. We are now enjoying them because of him.
Why did your husband get the muffins for Amber Heard?
He did not get the muffins for Amber Heard.
He knew you had a high-profile client, and you were preparing for a very long time, and you asked him to pick up the muffins, correct?
I asked him to pick up the muffins for me, yes.
Okay.
The main opinion is that Ms. Heard's report of intimate partner violence and the records that I reviewed is consistent with what we know in the field about intimate partner violence, characterized by physical violence, psychological aggression, sexual violence, coercive control, and surveillance behaviors. The second main opinion was that Ms. Heard demonstrated very clear psychological and traumatic effects or the exacerbation of trauma from those statements that Mr. Depp made through his attorney. There were 3 statements that we evaluated to see how they affected her emotionally and psychologically, and it was my determination that they did.
And did you arrive at any diagnostic conclusions?
Yes, I did. I diagnosed Ms. Heard with post-traumatic stress disorder, and the cause was the intimate partner violence by Mr. Depp.
And you said the rule was for presidents, right? And
that was initially for presidents, yes.
But the rule says it is unethical for a psychiatrist to offer a professional opinion about an individual. That's right, sir. It's not just presidents, it's not public figures, it's individuals. Let's start with the easy question then. Maybe we can...
That was pretty easy. Go ahead.
All right, Doctor, you're going to have to just answer the questions.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Let's go back to what you just said about narcissistic personality traits.
Yes.
Narcissistic personality disorder is a DSM-5 diagnosis, correct?
Correct.
And you haven't testified that Mr. Depp has narcissistic personality disorder.
I would certainly, if I didn't, I'm certainly thinking that, but at least I'm going to say he has traits, which are characteristics of provisional diagnosis of, it's a provisional diagnosis of probably narcissistic personality disorder. But yeah, I mean, I do believe that.
Well, when you say provisional diagnosis, you know the DSM-5 requires, in order to find that diagnosis, 5 of the 9 factors.
Mm-hmm.
And you haven't done that analysis. You've never made that diagnosis.
I'm identifying traits that are consistent with the diagnosis, yes.
Right. You rendered an opinion about Mr. Depp's purported cognitive impairment.
Yes.
Yeah. What do you use as a baseline? You compared pirates to the depositions given in this case.
Then I apologize for what I said. Then I misspoke.
You misspoke? You didn't make the comparison?
I apologize. I misspoke.
Okay. Because you know you can't compare pirates to sworn testimony, right?
Yes.
Any of Mr. Depp's other portrayals in movies, did that affect your analysis of processing speed?
Only I've seen him interact on interviews, and that was it.
Right.
When he wasn't in movies.
Right. But Willy Wonka doesn't matter to you? You see him in that movie, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory? Did you look at that one when you were comparing his processing speed?
Do I have to answer that question, Your Honor?
You have to answer questions. Yes, sir.
No, you'll be happy to know I didn't see Willy Wonka. I didn't see 21 Jump Street when it happened, or whatever it was about. No, I did not.
Okay, but you don't know enough about acting to know whether actors rehearse?
Sir, I am not an expert in acting. I have no idea what an actor does.
During your deposition, what were the circumstances under which you decided to call Mr. Depp an idiot? Is it a psychiatric opinion?
That follows the Goldwater rule.
How does it follow the...
Oh, you just said that. I'm not rendering a professional opinion. I just said idiot. That's not a...
No, so idiot is not a professional opinion?
Mm-hmm.
What you found hard to believe, sir, was that every line of the script was pumped through an earpiece. Where did you ever get the idea that occurred?
That's what I read and the court review, the court evidence. That's where I got it from.
Right. You know whether Marlon Brando used an earpiece?
Isn't he dead?
Yeah.
So the answer is no, he does not use one now.
Oh, no, I used the past tense, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry. I know nothing. I will concede to you, I know nothing about acting.
One of the primary organizations that has issued guidelines about practice of forensic psychiatry is called the American Academy of Psychiatry and the Law. This is an organization that represents forensic psychiatrists. And it has published guidelines about what constitutes an ethical and sound practice of doing a forensic assessment and providing a psychiatric opinion. Contains many elements that are consistent with the Goldwater rule. So, for example, it states that for a forensic assessment to be done, there has to be informed consent, and there should be a very thorough, comprehensive evaluation that would include reviewing past records, past psychiatric history. The guidelines do state that it is reasonable or permitted to provide an opinion without an evaluation, but if you're going to do that, there's some things that you have to really make clear in your opinion when you express that opinion. And the first is that you have to acknowledge the limitations of your opinion and not, like Dr. Spiegel, say that his opinion was held with a degree of medical certainty.
Did you form an opinion about Dr. Spiegel's testimony with respect to these practice guidelines?
Yes, I did.
And what is your opinion?
Well, my opinion is that he did not follow those guidelines. So, for example, he did not have consent. He did not do even a basic evaluation of Mr. Depp. When asked about should neuropsychological testing be performed, he said most patients don't have access to that, which is actually not at all true. I mean, every medical school has neuropsychologists that can do testing. So I think that was an unfortunate statement.
Would you please state your full name for the record?
Kate Moss.
Ms. Moss, where do you reside?
London, England.
Ms. Moss, do you know Johnny Depp?
Yes, I do.
How do you know Mr. Depp?
I had a relationship with him.
For how long, Ms. Moss, were you and Mr. Depp a romantic couple?
From 1993 to 1994 to 1998.
Ms. Moss, did there come a time when you, while you and Mr. Depp were a couple, that the two of you took a vacation together to the Golden Eye Resort in Jamaica?
Yes.
What, if anything, happened when you were in Jamaica with Mr. Depp?
We were leaving the room, and Johnny left the room before I did, and there had been a rainstorm, and as I left the room, I slid down the stairs, and I hurt my back, and I screamed because I was because I didn't know what had happened to me, and I was in pain, and he came running back to help me and carried me to my room and got me medical attention.
Did Mr. Depp push you in any way down the stairs?
No.
During the course of your relationship, did he ever push you down any stairs?
No, he never pushed me, kicked me, or threw me down any stairs.
Did Warner Brothers at any point in time reduce Ms. Heard's role in Aquaman 2?
No, I mean, again, from the early stages of the development of the script, the movie was built around the character of Arthur and the character of Orm, Arthur being Jason Momoa and Orm being Patrick Wilson. So they were always the two co-leads of the movie.
Did Warner Brothers ever plan to portray Ms. Heard as the co-lead in Aquaman 2?
No, it was the movie was always pitched as a buddy comedy between Jason Momoa and Patrick Wilson.
Was her compensation for Aquaman 2 affected in any way by anything said by Johnny Depp?
No.
Was her compensation for Aquaman 2 affected by anything said by anybody representing Johnny Depp?
No.
Was there any delay in Warner Brothers exercising the option to cast Ms. Heard in Aquaman 2?
Yes, there was.
How long a delay was there?
I don't know, probably weeks.
What was the cause of the delay?
There were conversations about potentially recasting. It was the concerns that were brought up at the wrap of the first movie. production of the first movie, which is the issue of chemistry. Did the two have chemistry? I think editorially they were able to make that relationship work in the first movie, but there was a concern that it took a lot of effort to get there. And would we be better off recasting, finding someone who had better, more natural chemistry with Jason Momoa and move forward that way?
On the 12th, we received a video depicting Johnny Depp slamming some cabinets that was captured by Ms. Heard.
Can you describe to the jury how you received the video on August 12, 2016?
So I received that email and it included a link.
So you received a link. What was in that link?
In that link was the video of Johnny Depp smashing the cabinets.
And you received this video in your inbox, correct?
I did.
What did you do once you received that video?
We downloaded it. We alerted the web editor who was sitting next to me at the time, and then were instructed by the news producer to do what we call slap bumpers and a bug on it, which is putting the dun 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 at the beginning end, and then putting a translucent watermark over it, which indicates copyright ownership.
After you did that, was it posted?
It was posted, yes.
Where was it posted?
It was posted to tmz.com.
Did you do anything else related to Amber Heard on August 12, 2016?
Yes, I received a tip that Amber Heard would be arriving at LAX, and so I dispatched camera people to film that exit, or her arrival to LAX, rather.
And why did you do that?
I was instructed to.
How long does it take to post a story after media's been received by TMZ?
After media's been received, it could take any length of time depending on who owns the copyright.
How does TMZ obtain copyright over images and videos?
The only way to obtain copyright over media would be if we shot it ourselves, if it was sent to the tip line, source verified that it was from the original copyright owner, and then either purchased from that person or given to us. And then the third option would be if it was directly given to us by the copyright holder, like a direct source.
And how long does it take to copyright something TMZ has received through the tip line?
It can take a while because you have to extensively verify that that person owns the copyright. And then possibly, it depends also if you can even get in contact with the person because they might not be super responsive immediately.
How long does it take for TMZ to obtain a copyright over something received directly from a source?
Something in the realm of 15 minutes just to do what I described before, which is putting bumpers and a bug on something and write the article and post it. It's pretty fast.
How much time had passed from the time you received the kitchen cabinet video to the time it was posted on TMZ?
About 15 minutes.
You know this case is being televised, right?
I am aware that there are cameras.
And so this gets you your 15 minutes of fame.
So I stand to gain nothing from this. I'm actually putting myself kind of in the target of TMZ, a very litigious organization, and I'm not seeking any 15 minutes here. Though you're welcome to speculate. I could say the same thing by taking Amber Heard as a client for you.
Are you familiar with the defendant in this matter, Amber Heard?
Yes, I am.
And how are you familiar with her?
I met her in 2009 at SeaTac International Airport.
Why were you at the airport?
I worked there.
What happened when you met Ms. Heard in 2009?
I was in the baggage claim area and I observed her with a traveling companion, and they got into an altercation where Ms. Heard had grabbed her traveling companion and pulled something from her neck. At that point, I got up and went over to try to break up what appeared to be a fight. And I summoned a colleague to help me, and I stepped in between them and separated them, stopping any further injuries or escalation.
How would you describe the interaction between Miss Heard and her traveling companion?
Miss Heard was aggressive towards her traveling companion. She had reached up and grabbed her arm and pulled a necklace off of her, and then I observed her having it in her hand. She seemed to be not very steady on her feet. Her eyes were blurry and watery, and I could smell alcohol.
What did Miss Heard's traveling companion do?
She raised her hands in what appeared to be a defensive manner, but other than that, she was pretty stoic and didn't really respond much. Her stature was 2 or 3 inches taller than Miss Heard, so she didn't really need to have to defend herself.
How would you describe Miss Heard's demeanor when you stepped in between Miss Heard and her traveling companion?
Mr. Neumeister, does this photo appear to be one that you have analyzed as part of your analysis in this case?
There were many versions of this photo. Some had been through Photos 1 or Photos 3, which are photo editing software programs.
And Mr. Neumeister, what does this demonstrative show about the photos that you analyzed?
Well, they appear to be similar. However, if you look below at the file sizes, one on the left is 712 kilobytes. The one in the middle is 489 kilobytes, and the one on the right is 524 kilobytes. Now, what's unusual about that is these photos will not digitally fingerprint with each other. They won't hash. In other words, forensically, they don't match. There's no way to authenticate any photo that was presented in the way the evidence was collected. All 3 of these photos had to go through some type of transformation to change sizes.
You mentioned Photos 1.5 and Photos 3.0 earlier, I believe.
Photos.
What is that?
Photos 3 and Photos 1.5 are editing programs that Macintosh or Apple put out with their product. It's for editing photos. In other words, you would put a photo in and you would change the colors, or you would crop it, or you would clarify it by enhancing, for example, the sharpening, or you could darken it. But when you save a photo through an editing program, you leave a mark on the EXIF data. The EXIF data is the data that is embedded in a photograph that tells you a lot about the photograph. Well, in this situation, I can see that normally where the operating system of the camera would be, which means the version that of operating system the phone is running on, it would normally say something like, I'll just throw out an arbitrary number, 9.1.3 operating system for iOS, which is Apple's iPhone operating system. Instead of saying that, it says software Photos 3.0 or Photos 1.0. That means that the photo had to be rendered, which means composited together in an editing program. So, for example, things you would see, the very top line would be the make of phone. It's an Apple iPhone 6. And then the resolution is 72 pixels per inch, 72 to 1. And instead, where it says software on a normal iPhone photo, it would, instead of saying Photos 3, it would say the software version, for example, 9.3.1. You know, right there, you've got Photos 3.0 on that particular photo. And I think, you know, we've pretty much covered what the stuff is. But again, you see the Photos 3.0. And again, this could not come out of an iPhone this way. This would go into a computer, be edited, and rendered through the photo editor, and this would then be embedded in the EXIF data.
And what about this one?
Same thing, Photos 3.0. And again, in a photo editing app, you can do an awful lot of things. So when you see Photos 3.0, first of all, you know it's not anywhere near an original. There's going to be compression artifacts because it's a JPEG file.
Ms. Heard, at the beginning of your cross-examination last week, I showed you an audio where you told Mr. Depp to tell the jury, tell the judge, tell the world that he is a victim of domestic abuse. Do you remember that?
That's correct.
And you testified you found it hard to believe that Mr. Depp would tell the world that he's a victim of domestic abuse, didn't you?
I said I find it hard to believe that he would do that knowing that he himself had beat me up for 5 years.
You didn't expect as many people to show up and testify on his behalf that did you?
Incorrect.
When you told this jury under oath that you punched Mr. Depp because you thought of Mr. Depp pushing Kate Moss down the stairs, you didn't expect Miss Moss to agree to testify that never happened, did you?
Incorrect. I know how many people will come out of the woodwork to be in support of Johnny.
So you think Miss Moss needs to come out of the woodwork to testify for Mr. Depp?
Everybody who was around in the 90s and the early aughts knew that rumor. I had heard that rumor from multiple people. Of course, that's what flashed through my head when my violent husband not only swung for me, but all of a sudden swung for my sister. Of course I thought of that. I did not expect her to show up or not expect her to show up. It didn't matter. It doesn't change what I believed at the time when we were on the stairs and I thought he was going to kill my sister by pushing her down the stairs.
You told this jury under oath that Mr. Depp was aggressive and trashed a trailer in Hicksville. You didn't expect the manager of the Hicksville property, Morgan Knight, to come forward and testify that was untrue, did you?
Incorrect. I've already been through trials with this man. I know how many people will come out in support of him.
When you told this jury under oath that you had no idea that the paparazzi would be at the courthouse on May 27th, 2016, you didn't expect a TMZ employee to show up to testify that TMZ had been alerted that you would be at the courthouse and knew exactly which side of your face to take a picture of, did you?
I know how many people will come out and say whatever for him. That's his power. That's why I wrote the op-ed. I was speaking to that phenomenon. How many people will come out in support of him and will fall to his power? He is a very powerful man, and people love currying favor with powerful men.
Currying
and I know
favor
that
and
firsthand. I've
risking
lived
jail
it.
time for committing perjury?
Excuse me? I didn't hear your question.
You didn't
Excuse
hear my
me?
question?
Ms. Vasquez, if you do mind,
Curry-
please just repeat the question. I didn't hear you.
Curry favor and commit perjury in this courtroom?
I have
For
seen
a
people
powerful
do this.
man?
I have seen people do this time and time again. That's why I wrote the op-ed.
You didn't expect Ben King, the house manager in Australia, to show up from England. He flew from England to testify that Mr. Depp's fingertip was found exactly where he said it would be. Did you?
I have never heard Johnny testify to knowing where his finger was, or really, frankly, making a claim that he knew where it was when it was found.
You didn't expect Keenan Wyatt, Mr. Depp's longtime sound technician, to show up and testify that Mr. Depp is not being fed lines through his earpieces, but instead music, did you?
Not that it matters much, but of course I did. I know how his employees treat him.
So you
I know how
probably-
his team treats him. Of course I expected that.
Okay, so you probably expected Isaac Baruch to come and testify for Mr. Depp, right?
I'm not sure I thought about that.
Yeah, but you didn't expect Mr. Baruch to weep for Mr. Depp after what you've put him through and so many others with your lies.
I
did you?
relate to Isaac because he and I are
There's
the
no
only
further
ones who have
questions, Your
cried
Honor.
on this stand.
Nothing further.
All right.
On May 27th, 2016, Ms. Heard walked into a courthouse in Los Angeles, California, to get a no-notice ex-parte restraining order against Mr. Depp, and in doing so, ruined his life by falsely telling the world that she was a survivor of domestic abuse at the hands of Mr. Depp. Today, on May 27th, 2022, exactly 6 years later, we ask you to give Mr. Depp his life back by telling the world that Mr. Depp is not the abuser Ms. Heard said he is, and hold Ms. Heard accountable for her lies. What is at stake in this trial is a man's good name. Even more than that, what is at stake at this trial is a man's life. The life that he lost when he was accused of a heinous crime, and the life he could live when he is finally vindicated. Exactly 6 years ago today, on May 27th, 2016, Ms. Heard walked into court and filed a false report of domestic abuse against her husband of 15 months, Johnny Depp. The scene was a setup. She tipped off the paparazzi so they would be waiting. They knew exactly where she would pause, which side of her face to photograph. And the photos captured what she wanted them to see, the image of a battered woman. Ms. Heard and her lawyers love to remind you of how the op-ed did not mention Mr. Depp by name, but Ms. Heard made sure that there would be no mistake about who she was referring to. There is an abuser in this courtroom, but it is not Mr. Depp. And there is a victim of domestic abuse in this courtroom, but it is not Ms. Heard. The evidence presented at this trial has shown that Ms. Heard is in fact the abuser, and Mr. Depp the abused. As you heard from Mr. Depp and multiple other witnesses that testified under oath at this trial, Mr. Depp experienced persistent verbal, physical, and emotional abuse by Ms. Heard during their relationship. You heard from Mr. Depp about how often Ms. Heard would berate him, insult him, and physically attack him, including one of the most serious occasions when Ms. Heard threw a vodka bottle at Mr. Depp, severely injuring his finger, and then put a cigarette out on his face. You heard from Mr. Depp that this whole incident in Australia started because Ms. Heard was enraged that Mr. Depp wanted a post-nuptial agreement, and she wasn't in his will, just a month after getting married. You also heard from Tara Roberts, a manager at Mr. Depp's island, who witnessed Ms. Heard telling Mr. Depp that he was washed up and would die fat and lonely. You also heard from Ms. Roberts that she witnessed Ms. Heard clawing and grabbing at Mr. Depp, grabbing his hair, trying to pull him back to her, and Mr. Depp had a visible injury to his nose on that occasion. Most importantly, you heard from Ms. Heard yourselves on multiple audio recordings admitting to being physically violent with Mr. Depp. What you didn't hear on a single recording you heard in this case, and there were many played by both parties, is Mr. Depp ever admitting to hitting, punching, or kicking Ms. Heard. You didn't hear it. It doesn't exist. It didn't happen. Unlike Mr. Depp, who you heard admit to and own up to his past mistakes and his struggles, particularly with drugs and alcohol, Ms. Heard will not admit that she has ever done anything wrong. But she cannot deny what you heard on those recordings. As much as Ms. Heard and her lawyers have tried to make this case about Mr. Depp's language, it is Ms. Heard that repeatedly admits to violence. When you catch Ms. Heard in a lie, she tries to cover it up with more lies. Ms. Heard's acting coach, Christina Sexton, testified that Ms. Heard has difficulty crying when she is acting. You saw it. Ms. Heard sobbing without tears, while spinning elaborate, exaggerated, fantastical accounts of abuse, and everything going on in her mind almost a decade prior while enduring that abuse. It was a performance. What Ms. Heard testified to in this courtroom is the story of far too many women. But the overwhelming evidence and weight of that evidence shows that it's not her story. It's not Ms. Heard's story. It was an act of profound cruelty, not just to Mr. Depp, but to true survivors of domestic abuse. You may have noticed that no one showed up for Ms. Heard in this courtroom other than her sister. Every other witness who traveled to Virginia for her was a paid expert. This is a woman who burns bridges. Her close friends don't show up for her. Mr. Rottenborn tried to discredit Mr. Depp's witnesses by suggesting they're all on Mr. Depp's payroll. So he doubled down on the hoax theory that everyone's just lying. Kate Moss is most definitely not on Mr. Depp's payroll. Ms. Heard wants you to believe that all these people are lying. Let's talk about the Boston plane. What did Ms. Heard capture of this supposed rampage? Mr. Depp moaning in distress? That's what she chose to record. What sort of person records something like that? What sort of person takes pictures of their husband or boyfriend or fiance who's struggling with sobriety, nodding off with ice cream dripping down his leg, or asleep on the ground? What sort of person does that? Definitely not someone that's afraid of him.
As Ms. Vasquez said, you have now come to know the real Amber Heard. We also told you at the start of this trial that you were going to come to know the real Johnny Depp, not the many characters you've seen him play so wonderfully in the movies, but the man himself. We kept that promise. You've met the real Johnny Depp. Before Amber Heard, ladies and gentlemen, no woman ever before Amber Heard ever claimed that Mr. Depp raised a hand to her. in his 58 years. And no other woman since Ms. Heard made that false claim back on May 27th, 2016, has any woman come forward since. To the contrary, ladies and gentlemen, you heard Kate Moss 2 days ago testify. This is a woman who has never testified in any proceeding, ever. A very private person. Testified that Mr. Depp never abused her and that Ms. Heard lied to you. And she lied to you twice. Beyond the personal and emotional effects of Ms. Heard's lies, their impact on Mr. Depp and his family, the damage she inflicted on his reputation and career is undeniable. There's an old saying that a good reputation takes a lifetime to build, but only a second to destroy. Mr. Depp spent, in fact, a lifetime building his reputation as one of the greatest actors and movie stars of his generation, an iconic figure respected and liked throughout Hollywood and recognized and admired throughout the world. As you've heard in this case, Amber Heard is not a true victim, and Mr. Depp certainly is not an abuser. While Mr. Depp's name will be forever tarnished by these horrendous and false allegations, this case is about telling you his story and the truth about what really happened, which you've now heard. It is about restoring his lost reputation. It's about showing Mr. Depp's children, Lily Rose and Jack, that the truth is worth fighting for. And it's about restoring Mr. Depp's name and standing in the community to the fullest extent that you can. And you can do something. And only you, ladies and gentlemen, can do that for him. You heard from Mr. Depp yesterday that he has been carrying these outlandish, outrageous stories on his back, pretty stoically, and living with them for 6 years, and waiting to be able to bring his truth out. And he has told you the truth, the unvarnished truth, even truth that pretty embarrassing. He knew that was going to happen when he brought this case. You've seen the evidence in this case over 6 long weeks, which we again thank you for. That evidence shows overwhelmingly that Ms. Heard's attempt to paint herself as a heroic survivor, an innocent survivor, and Mr. Depp as a terrifying abuser are utterly false. We ask you to please return your verdict for Mr. Depp. We ask you, we implore you to give him his name, his reputation, and his career back.
All right, Mr. Foreperson, is this the verdict of the jury?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, is it unanimous?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Depp's claim against Ms. Heard. 1. As to the statement appearing in the online op-ed entitled, "Amber Heard, I spoke up against sexual violence and faced our culture's wrath. That has to change." In the Washington Post online edition, quote, "I spoke up against sexual violence and faced our culture's wrath. That has to change," end quote. Do you find that Mr. Depp has proven all the elements of defamation? Answer, yes. Question, the statement was false. Answer, yes. Question, the statement has a defamatory implication about Mr. Depp. Answer, yes. Question, the defamatory implication was designed and intended by Ms. Heard. Answer, yes. Do you find that Mr. Depp has proven by clear and convincing evidence that Ms. Heard acted with actual malice? Answer, yes. As against Amber Heard, we, the jury, award compensatory damages in the amount of $10 million. As against Amber Heard, we, the jury, award punitive damages in the amount of $5 million. Has Ms. Heard proven by a greater weight of the evidence that, question, Mr. Waldman, while acting as an agent for Mr. Depp, made or published the statement? Answer, yes. Question, the statement was false. Answer, yes. Do you find that Ms. Heard has proven by clear and convincing evidence that the statement by Mr. Waldman was made with actual malice? Answer, yes. As against John C. Depp II,
we, the jury, award compensatory damages in the amount of $2 million. As against John C. Depp II, we, the jury, award punitive damages in the amount of $0.
Hi everyone. Today's verdict confirms what we have said from the beginning, that the claims against Johnny Depp are defamatory and unsupported by any evidence. We are grateful, so grateful to the jury for their careful deliberation, to the judge and the court staff who have devoted an enormous amount of time and resources towards this case.
Our judicial system is predicated on each person's right to have his or her case heard, and we were honored, truly honored, to assist Mr. Depp in ensuring that his case was fairly considered throughout the trial. We are also most pleased that the trial has resonated for so many people in the public who value truth and justice. Now that the jury has reached its conclusive verdict, it's time to turn the page and look to the future. Thank you all so much, and thanks to the jury.
Thank you so much.